It's Friday, January 3rd, 2020, and I'm Dave Sobel. 3 things to know today. Amazon and Google versus their own employees, Microsoft scores a win against hackers, and CES trends to watch next week. This is the business of tech. Amazon threatened to fire at least 2 workers for speaking out against company policies on environmental issues. Citing their communications policy, a lawyer in the employee relations group sent a letter to 2 workers warning that future infractions could, quote, result in formal corrective action up to and including termination of your employment with Amazon, end quote. And over at Google, a top exec was assigned to execute a plan to protect human rights in China and focused his efforts on building a formalized human rights program over the past few years since a Google announcement a decade ago that it would stop censoring search results in China to safeguard security and free speech. He now alleges that Google pushed him out in April because of his efforts and their change in direction. The Washington Post with both stories and links in the show notes. Why do we care? Let's start with the statement that free speech protections in the U.S. are designed around the government censoring people, not companies, so this isn't a First Amendment story. This is a debate about ethics in business. There may not be anything legally wrong here, but it sure doesn't look good. When you're big and powerful, attacking individuals is not a good look. You also can't claim to be for something and then not deliver. Amazon says they're about combating climate change, but don't want employees pushing back on its own policies. Google says they're for free speech, but don't seem to like when employees advocate for it. Standing up for principles isn't easy, but not doing so will be a long, painful ride. Microsoft recently won a court order that allowed it to take control of 50 websites linked to a North Korean hacking group. The group, called Thallium, was using spear phishing attacks against government employees, think tanks, university staff, and those working on nuclear proliferation issues. Microsoft stated that the group was the 4th nation-state hacking group that it has filed legal actions to work to take down. It's good to report a win when there are so many stories without them. The Consumer Electronics Show kicks off next week in Las Vegas. With that, let's round up some of the predictions and trends to be watching for in the coming week. This is a purely commentary section. Let's start with 5G. There shouldn't be any specific announcements from carriers, nor a ton of specific phone announcements, although we do expect to see some new 5G-enabled phones. Remember that Mobile World Congress is in Barcelona at the end of February, which is where many of those announcements will be made. Instead, it's more likely there's going to be products and discussions about what's now capable due to the coming availability of that much bandwidth. Even before the show, Dell announced new laptops that include 5G connectivity. Next up, the gaming space. The space is interesting to watch because of the coming cloud streaming technologies. Microsoft and Google are both heavily invested with xCloud and Stadia respectively, and with a new console generation to launch at the end of 2020, there should be developments in the coming months. Any movement in gaming using these technologies will likely have some business application as well. Notable will also be any changes of laptops and desktops announced that cater to gamers, as those are performance machines. The smart home and ambient computing expected to be a theme. There's 2 areas we care about embedded in this topic. First, it's the privacy angle. We're going to be looking for announcements and understanding of the movements around addressing customer privacy concerns. From there, it's ambient computing in general, voice assistants, wearables, and connected clothing. I also lump any health and wellness announcements into this category. There's business implications in all of those. Finally, a bunch of services. Embedded in the streaming wars noise focused on consumers is the movement to services. Everything is as a service, and consumer startups will give insight into coming business trends. Expect, again, health and wellness subscriptions to likely be the most interesting. Today's episode is brought to you by the Killing It Podcast. Episode 40 is now out. 3 topics: drone food delivery going nationwide in 2020, resilience and how to recharge your batteries and bring yourself back to a place of productivity, and finally, a discussion about breaking terms. Did the year change the way we talk about technology? 3 topics, 3 hosts in 30 minutes, and 1 focus on making money in IT. Catch the show in your favorite podcatcher. Thanks for listening to The Business of Tech. Unlike much of the tech industry, I will not be at CES next week, but I will be covering it from afar, looking forward to lots of new developments and trends we can keep an eye on. I'm going to also recover from this cold, and I will see everyone on Monday. Thanks for listening.